I refuse to bend towards the pressures of social media, to bend towards the pressures of making quick money. Most people on YouTube, they just pump and dump tokens. They buy a token short term, right? They buy a token in silence, then afterwards promote this on their channel, hoping to push up the project. And sometimes there's even direct sponsorships involved, right? Key opinion leaders getting some money from a crypto project to then promote it, to then, after the following has bought, just sell to all those people, generating the losses to the audience. Now, I'm not saying that the exact same thing is happening for Pudgy penguins, but what's interesting is how pretty much every single video on the token is bullish. It's a generational opportunity with a 30x, or it's a 1000x over here. And there's a good reason why the vast majority of crypto content on YouTube is bullish. It's always predicting rising prices. It's not always just marketing dollars that are floating. It's also the incentives that YouTube gives. Because here I am coming out with a video of how I'm bearish on Pudgy penguins. And this is then the comments that come back as feedback. Who is this guy? The exact opposite of what he says comes true. Even my toddler cousin can get it more accurate. Pengu just had profit taking and is now back to all-time high, yet this guy thinks it will collapse. Just do the opposite of what he says and you'll be rich. He's always wrong, etc. Now, people that watch a video on Pudgy penguins or any smaller altcoin for that matter have a higher likelihood of already being invested in the asset. Thus, there is some kind of a bias here. There is the bias of selective perception, right? We tend to only watch the things that we actually think is true. We kind of ignore everything else. Anything that might negate our thesis, we just ignore. But especially for Memecoin trading, we want to push up the token, right? We want other people that watch a particular video that might read our comments to also buy into the token. So it's a player versus player game, and nobody wants to be the greatest fool in this game. And so comments like this are loud, but it's still the minority. 90% of the people that watched that prior Pudgy penguins video actually liked the video. Only 10% disliked it. The impression we get from the comments is very different though. Had I made a video though, how great Pudgy penguins is, then the like to dislike ratio would be very much different. That then of course helps the YouTube algorithm, and that's the reason why those Schiller channels, the channels that always promote a cryptocurrency, tend to have more reach. It's hard to find crypto channels that analyze assets objectively, right? They don't just promote cryptocurrencies, and that's the reason. It simply doesn't get rewarded by the algorithm. But I refuse to bend towards that pressure. Even if temporarily single videos might underperform, I do believe that long term you guys appreciate my honest take on things. And here's my honest take right now. This is Pudgy penguins in US dollars, and interestingly enough, it peaked at exactly the same level where it was at the beginning of January of this year. And now it tends to come down. Here's Pudgy penguins relative to Bitcoin, and from peak to peak, it actually underperformed. And that's not a surprise, right? Most altcoins tend to underperform Bitcoin most of the time. This is a market that's completely led by Wall Street. Wall Street is pumping in capital into Bitcoin and Ethereum, and all those smaller altcoins long-term tend to underperform. But that's not necessarily why people buy Pudgy penguins, right? It's not necessarily for the long term, it's to ride this current wave. From the bottom in the middle of April of this year to today, Pudgy penguins still outperformed Bitcoin by more than 500%. And maybe there's another 500%, right? This is what most people think that are now in Pudgy penguins. But is that actually true? Is this realistic? There's a lot of speculation around the asset. There's a lot of short-term leverage in the asset, right? There are the perpetual futures, that's levered bets on the price, that's short-term capital in various assets, and this tends to go up and down in very quick waves. Perpetual futures are not used for long-term holding of an asset. They're used for levered exposure and short-term trading. Now here's the open interest weighted funding rates for Pengu. Sometimes the shorts have to pay the longs, sometimes the longs have to pay the shorts. Currently the majority of people are betting on rising prices on Pengu. But just have a look at how much the spot price correlates with the open interest. So the open interest is here in green, the spot price is in yellow. And whenever there's more short-term leverage, more bets on the price tends to be high. Whenever that leverage deflates, the price tends to go down as well. And we are at record levels in open interest. We are close to $500 million worth of open interest on Pudgy penguins. And have a look at the trading volume of Pengu over time. It tends to be very high. And again, there is a correlation between the trading volume on the asset and the price itself. The more attention there is, the more trading volume there is, the higher the price, and vice versa. Currently with this rally, it's mainly shorts that get liquidated, but since currently the majority of people are betting on rising prices, when the price is dropping, the amount of long liquidations will be massive. They will outpace with what happened with the shorts in the past. There is an obvious problem with holding Pengu over the long term, and that's tokenomics. It's not yet official, there might be some over-the-counter deals, but officially the team hasn't yet cashed out. The first unlocks happen at the beginning of next year, and then the team and the investors, they get tokens and they can dump on the market. But until then, Pudgy Penguin stays the largest meme coin on Solana with a market cap of 2.3 billion. Now, is this a good or a bad sign? I personally see this rather as a bad sign, because crypto trading, especially meme coin trading, is player versus player. No new value gets created, right? It's all just shuffling capital around. And so price and attention is correlated. When the attention currently is on Pudgy Penguins, it's likely going to move somewhere else in the future again. When there's no long-term value creation, when we are buying something that's essentially worthless long-term, then we're taking on a ton of risk. Now that risk should get compensated for with a lot of potential upside. But when the meme coin is already the largest in an ecosystem, how much upside is there really relative to the risk? Because obviously there is a lot of risk, right? In the past, Pudgy Penguins went down by more than 90%. And for everybody that's so bullish on the token now, explain, why did it go down by more than 90% when everything is sunshine and rainbows around Pudgy Penguins? Why would the price ever be depressed in this manner? Let's compare the Pudgy Penguins market cap to other meme coins that had their runs. At what market cap did they peak out? How much upside is there really? Let's say the market heats up a bit further. So Pudgy Penguins is currently at a bit under 2.5 billion. Let's compare this with Bonk. Bonk peaked at 4 billion. Here we've got Fartcoin. Fartcoin peaked at 2.1 billion. Here is Dog with Head. That peaked at 4.6 billion. Here we've got Popcat that peaked a bit under 2 billion. Peanuts the Squirrel peaked at 1.8 and Godzeus Maximus peaked at 1.2 billion. So historically, across all those asset classes, the largest of the meme coins peaked at 2.6 billion. So in the very best case, there is less than a 2x from here. But I don't think that's a very likely scenario. It might happen, it might not happen. Is Pudgy Penguins going to make a 3, 4, 5x from here? Probably not. But then I also get those other arguments, right? The idea that currently the altcoins are super depressed anyways, and once we see an altcoin rally, then everything will go up, and then Pudgy Penguins might see the 10x from here. But again, how likely is this? What's the probability, right? We always want to be as objective as possible. Have a look at this chart over here. This is the others dominance. So how much of all of crypto is currently in the altcoins? And yes, the altcoins, relatively speaking, are not very high. In the past, they did make their rallies, right? This was an outperformance versus the rest of crypto by 300% roughly. What we see at the bottom here, that's the Bitcoin price. So the altcoins tended to rally after we bottomed out from a bear market, right? Bitcoin was at 3.5K, it went up to 10K, and that's then when people started rotating into riskier altcoins. Then the altcoins underperformed when the next bull market started. This time though, with the beginning of the recovery in Bitcoin, we do not see the altcoins outperform again. Wouldn't it be logical that when we recover from a bear market, that at some point people might get more risk on again? Why don't we suddenly see this? Something has fundamentally changed, and that's the way how money is getting into crypto now. Retail interest is extremely low. There are very few search queries for the term Bitcoin or for the term crypto. It's all just Wall Street that is buying up Bitcoin, that's pushing up prices, right? It's either Michael Saylor with MicroStrategy or it's the Bitcoin ETFs. In the last 1.5 years, we have simply seen those entities accumulate everything. And so that's why Bitcoin is doing better than most altcoins. That's why there is no altcoin season. For Ethereum, that's even more pronounced, right? In the last 14 days, we have seen an annualized supply absorption of almost 22%. So Wall Street is buying incredibly quickly, especially into Ethereum. But that's probably not going to happen for Pudgy Penguins, right? Just think about this objectively, right? If you are completely an outsider, if you don't have any stake in this whatsoever, and you look at the peaks of market cap of similar tokens in the past, and there's maximum, in the very, very best case, a 2x from here. And that best case is not very likely. And there is a good likelihood of potentially dropping by 90%. Are you really going to get into Pudgy penguins at those prices? I think it will play out like many other stories in the past. We had the collapse of Terra Luna and nobody believed me at the time. But luckily many people watched that video, right? That was 78,000 views. I hope I saved some people from that crash, right? The UST stablecoin collapse, the Anchor protocol blow up. Or then we had Strongblock. Just have a look at the comments in the Strongblock video. It was a Ponzi scheme. Everybody thought they'd get rich very quickly. And I hope that among those 39,000 viewers at the time, some people didn't lose their money after watching the video. Or have a look at this, right? ChainGPT, same thing. Making videos that are not hyper bullish on a cryptocurrency, that try to approach it in an objective manner, don't necessarily get that much support. The comments can be quite hostile, but I'm okay with that because I've seen it time and time again. This channel has been around for 4 years. A lot of people that get burned with Pudgy penguins in the next months, they might remember this channel. They might remember Bitcoin strategy, search for it in the future, and then potentially look a bit deeper. I am playing the long game here. I'm not promising another 100x altcoin. I don't want to end up like Ben Armstrong that takes money to promote cryptocurrencies. I never take any money from any project in crypto ever because I do believe in karma. These things don't end up well. Bad behavior will reflect back one day or another. Now it's interesting how those crypto cycles develop over time. As the price is going higher and higher, Bitcoin reaches new all-time highs, new people enter the space because the media is covering Bitcoin. People are wondering, should I also invest in the asset? The problem is most people don't just stick with Bitcoin. Most people want to figure out what's the next Bitcoin. Bitcoin is already high. Is there maybe another cryptocurrency that can do the 10x or the 100x returns? And that's then where crypto YouTube becomes a problem, right? Because many YouTubers pretend they know what the next 100 or 1000x altcoin is. Unfortunately, again, if you're trying to buy those altcoins, you're getting burned. Most people that enter the crypto space with those small altcoins just lose the majority of their funds. They have to make the losses first, then afterwards come to conclusions to potentially approach the market slightly differently. Because maybe that's you. In the last year, Bitcoin appreciated by 78%. But have a look at what those smaller altcoins did. How many of them did more than that? There is UPC, there is Cult, there's Dragon and Hosky, but the vast majority of these smaller altcoins lost massively. Now this is true for the altcoins from the market rank 900 to 1000. It's also true for the altcoins between 800 and 900. It's the same everywhere. Outperforming the already high return of Bitcoin is extremely hard. And I don't think the right approach is to find the 1 or 2 altcoins that might do so temporarily. There's another approach, and I'm using that approach for almost 4 years now. Had I just dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin, I would have gotten this light gray line in terms of return. But I got the return in black. So I outperformed just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin massively. And it was not by trying to find the next Hosky or the next Dragon. Because here's how this channel is different. Most other channels, they take money from crypto projects or they buy a small crypto project and then use the YouTube audience just to shill the token, right? To just push up the token, generate some attention, then create some purchase orders with that and then dump on the audience. This is what most of crypto YouTube is doing. I never took any money from any crypto project and I never buy a cryptocurrency before talking about this here on this channel. I don't pump and dump on this audience. I'm also trying to be different by being more transparent, as in I share my performance. So the long-term performance versus Bitcoin we've just seen, but I've also now started trading with relative valuation bets using perpetual futures. Now this might have been a mouthful, but the idea is we want to bet on most altcoins doing worse than Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana over time, because most altcoins go down over time. And here is when I started with perpetual futures trading. So this is a chart that's roughly 2.5 months only in duration. But during that time, I turned roughly 40K into roughly 60K, a 50% increase, again, in just 2.5 months. And I'm even going one step further. I don't just share my performance, I also want now the community to participate in that performance. I've launched a capital pool on a decentralized finance protocol called Hyperliquid, where a few select people get access to copy trading. So simply just provide some capital and get the same kind of performance. This started 2.5 weeks ago. It's so far up 4.7%. And I'm trying to push up the APR even further than that. The target is to maybe reach 50 to 60% APY. And here's how I'm doing this. I'm not trying to find the next altcoin. I'm not promoting small meme coins where I then dump on the audience. I'm doing the exact opposite. Because here's the reality of the altcoin market. Most altcoins work in a way of an expanding supply. So the project starts with just a small market cap and a small allocation of tokens that are floating. And then over time, the early investors, so the venture capitalists and the team and the other influencers that got paid in the token, they might get those tokens unlocked over time. So they don't get access to the tokens directly. They can only sell after a while. And they sell via that expanding token unlock. So what we see here is an example. This is the circulating BAL tokens over time. So this is Balancer. Balancer started out with roughly 19 million tokens and then expanded all the way up to 69 million tokens. The additional supply went to the founders, to advisors, to investors, and also to the usage of the platform. And so, surprise, surprise, Balancer underperformed Bitcoin very, very constantly. And this is just one small example. This website here, right, Tokenomics.ai, tracks how many tokens get unlocked over time. And on average, we have hundreds of millions of dollars that get unlocked. So if there is not as much inflow every single week in crypto, all those altcoins will do worse than BTC. And so the trick is really to turn this around. So instead of buying the next Balancer, instead of trying to find the next 10 or 100x altcoin, we are flipping the situation around. When the insiders are dumping, we make money. So here's what we are doing. We are betting on falling prices of Balancer and we go long in Ethereum. So suddenly we've got massive, massive outperformance. We can go long in Ethereum, we can go long in Bitcoin. It's the same thing. Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana are the only cryptocurrencies worth holding over the long term, where we don't have to rotate too much. And since beginning of the year, this particular trade already made more than 100%. Now, isn't it better to get into a position like this instead of finding the outlier in a sea that's all red? It seems more straightforward, right? It seems more intuitive. Let's just buy an altcoin and hope we pick the right one. It's an easy strategy to explain, but just because it's easy doesn't mean it's profitable. People lose with this strategy, especially beginners that don't know what they're doing, that just believe all of those random crypto YouTubers that say they know the next 100 and 1000x return coin. So a chart like this is the reason why I've got this long-term outperformance versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin already has very nice long-term returns. I think it's around 30% per annum, given the inflows that we currently see. If we want to outperform this, we can just bet on the relative valuation. The garbage will stay garbage. The garbage will not suddenly turn around and become better than Bitcoin. And so have a look at the individual trades of our community, right? This is a few wins that are shared by the members. There are potentially even hundreds of % in single trades. And what matters, of course, is risk management as well. Now, the vast majority of people in crypto lose, and that's in the nature of things, right? If we double our money, somebody else has to lose everything if the market as a whole isn't growing. Thus, if we want to get outperformance, we have to take it from somewhere. Now, my target with this community is to make the majority of us here winners within crypto. So the rest is okay to lose, but we want to be winners, and we do this by having an edge, by doing strategies that most people don't follow. And so here's my offer. I want to make everybody become a winner once they join this community, the premium community of this channel. And here's how I do this. You just have to watch 2 videos, this one over here, using perpetual futures on Hyperliquid to bet on relative valuations, and this one over here, risk management with relative valuation bets. It's very, very important you watch both of those videos. It's 1 hour in total, a bit more than that. And once you've watched that, I will share this trade with you. It's not Balancer, it's something else, but it continues to outperform extremely constantly as well. And I'm that confident in that trade that in case you do not make money with this trade in the first month, so if you enter on day 1, you exit on day 30 or 31, and you don't make money with the trade, then I will refund the entire premium membership fee for you. Yes, I do take a little bit of risk with that offer, right? There are some phases where this chart is not going up in the span of a month. But in general, the odds are very much in our favor that this will continue to print money. Buying this chart over here, again, which is caused by token inflation, is much, much better than trying to find the next Hosky based on a YouTuber that doesn't really know what they're talking about. And so here's that membership fee. It's $125 per month. Again, it gets refunded in case you don't make money with that first trade. Simply join, watch those 2 videos, execute on the trade, make your first money back, and then hopefully learn more along the way. Because that's the long-term plan, right? We want to skill up as much as possible, help each other in the community as well, share potential trading ideas, and then become the small group of winners in a vast sea of losers in this player versus player crypto game. If it's your first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish videos regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in premium. Cheers.